spiritual groups came turn by turn. And we introduced yoga. I'm talking of 1993, when yoga became an integral part of mornings for all prisoners. Evening were spiritual discourses of all faiths. All faiths, spiritual discourse in the evening, which is called satsang. And in the morning was yoga and sports and education. So once we made it into into this kind of educational institution, many prisoners who were illiterate became literate. And publishers joined hands with me to donate used school books and even other books. So we made it into an educational institution for reform. Otherwise, if you leave them alone, what would they do? And of course, the most challenging thing which I did, which really impacted all of us and fortunately has remained, we made it into a no smoking zone. When I took over, it was a very heavily smoking institution and negative smoking. 50% were smokers and 50% were consumers of negative smoke. So we took away, tuberculosis was spreading. So we took away the smoking from there completely, which was a very big challenge, but we succeeded. And that became a healthier institution.
Now, this is what I like about you is you actually look to see what is wrong and go about it. But that has also got you into a lot of trouble. People don't like someone thinking out of the box, which is also a part of the problem of the system. So how have you survived that? Sometimes you've been shunted from one post to the other because you were just thinking out of the box.
I answer my own conscience. I look at the purpose of my work. And if the purpose also has, fortunately, in the administration, the rules and regulations and resources, that's what I'm here for. I'm not an onlooker. I have to be a doer. I have to change where the problem needs to be changed and not worry about who will like it and who will not. Not looking for social approvals. And look, there were social approvals even for no smoking zone. So on one hand, you would approval. On the other hand, you disapproval. You're not looking at these two. You're only doing what is the purpose of your work, and you're doing it with the right intention. What is the selfishness about no smoking for me? What's the selfishness about people doing meditation for me? But that's the purpose of my work. So if you stick as an administrator to the purpose of your work, and then go about looking for solutions and resources and strategies and thinking and planning, you start succeeding. And things change. And of course, that's acceptable, that change is not comfortable for many. But that's not you looking for approval. You're looking for what is the right thing to do at that right time, in the right way.
Fair enough. And the right person. But what is the Kiran Bedi mantra for governance or for doing the right thing? What are the three principles? Because as I said earlier, we've been doing many shows with you. I've seen the response you get. I've seen how many young kids especially do want, and the kids who they've heard about you. You're a legend. Maybe my generation, of course, we grew up with your Kiran Bedi and around that time. But kids now want to emulate you, become like Kiran Bedi. So what would you tell them?
I think you have to be self-driven. Motivation has to come from within. Seek it within, search it within, imbibe it, instill it. Self-driven. And I think I was self-driven even as a schoolgirl, where my parents never told me to do my homework on time or do advanced learning. I was self-driven even growing up. And I think that self-driven habit stayed with me, where I administer and serve my duty. Self-driven. My senior doesn't have to tell me, aise karo. Balki kehte hai ki tum itna karo, thoda kam kar lo. Agar kam karna kar lo, because it was exceeding their expectations. But it was always being very self-driven. So self-driven and then sense of responsibility. For whatever I do, it's my responsibility. I'll take the bouquets and the brickbats. Bouquets to be distributed and brickbats to take home. But that was the whole intention. So I think sense of responsibility, sense of purpose, being self-driven, if you acquire them as you grow up, they become you. They become your set of habits.
Tell us a bit about you as a schoolgirl. Did you always play by the rules, or there was a little bit of the Kiran Bedi then who would, want to do things her way?
No, I didn't play by the rules.
I thought so.
Teased the boys and boys teased me.
Who had the last word?
Both equal. So it was never taking it home and going back crying. I was a cyclist as a schoolgirl in Amritsar. I was bike from home to school, which was very far away. But it was biking as a teenager. But while biking and with my tennis shorts or in a tracksuit or in a skirt, and those days of early days, I was being teased by the boys. And if they would tease me, I would tease them back. Means hit them back. I would never take it lying down. So I was a very outgoing girl. I think that outgoing habit remained with me even in governance. because I go out to see the problem. I don't ask for reports. There's no paper report with me. It's all about, you tell me a problem, I'm just going and seeing it. Let's go see the problem. Once we see the problem, as I said, you use all your 5 senses on the problem. When you listen, you hear, you think, you watch, and once you've got the sense of it, you don't need a report. You come and make your own report, and then you get into an execution plan. And therefore, the impatience to solve people's issues must remain, because you are one, it's like they're having no problems of water. You can't say, send me a report. Let me see why the problem is there. So when the whole area is going dry, how do you do water harvesting? Who can do the water harvesting? Where will the resources come from? How does the piped water go there? So don't wait. If you were there, you would want it now. You don't say, kal aayenge, parso aayenge, mahine ke baad aayenge. It's a problem is now. Solve the problem on urgent basis, what requires urgency, and then take up what is important. So it's like being urgent in public problems, important in public issues, what is not important, what is not urgent can wait. So I think my whole approach was to grievance redressal was, let me see the problem myself rather than having a report. It was always different from paper reports which would come. It was a paperless problem solving only by being on the field most of the time.
And also instant governance, I think, problem solving instantly. But there have been times where you have, faced a brick wall. You had times where you had to, back down. How did you feel then? How did you mentally reassure yourself?
Almost every vital good decision of mine as a lieutenant governor and as a team, the best part of our work was a very strong team. I had a very dedicated, devoted team in Rajnivas. It was called Team Rajnivas, and it was just about 4 or 5 people, but very experienced, very dedicated, and they loved the change because after all, they were Puducherrians. And they loved the change because they knew I will go away, all the right things which we are doing, they will be equally the beneficiaries. So the best part was a team victory. It was a totally team approach. What was your next part of the question? You've also forgotten it.
I've also forgotten it, sorry. But when you've had to hit a wall,
hostility.
How did you reassure yourself?
Oh my God, there was a tremendous hostility. And had to be when you hit money bags. Those people, whether it was politicians or vested interests or individuals who were making money in maladministration, their money got dried up. They got money dried up. And you think they'd be my friends? They wouldn't be. That's anticipated. But that should not hold you back. You are here to not fill their bags. You are here to see money goes to the people for whom it's meant. And it did. It did. And we saved a lot. We invested rightly. And there were no approvals for something which was beyond the budget. States which are crossing the budgets, the problem is in governance. They can easily say, like for instance, recently what's happened in a particular state, when they said, we got no money, you committed something, but there's no money. Who said that? A bureaucrat. So if the bureaucrats start sending the signals to the politicians right away, you have announced this, but sorry sir, there's no money in this, and there is no borrowing on this. That is what was happening as an administrator. I did not allow excess of any budget for anything non-essential. No gifting away when you have not budgeted. If you budgeted, you get it. If you have not budgeted, you shall not it. You will not borrow and give. You will earn and give, or you generate.
So how did you generate it? Within the Raj Bhavan also you had schemes?
Oh, I cut down expenses of Rajnivas hugely. I made Rajnivas a vegetarian.
And that saves money.
Rajnivas was a huge saving when I declared Rajnivas to be vegetarian. Even our Eid festivals were vegetarian. All vegetarian. Because I knew we could not afford kind of large, expensive non-vegetarian food. We declared it to non-vegetarian. I became a vegetarian. The festivals became vegetarian.
But that was before the price of tomatoes went up.
No, we could not afford the lavishness which costs through non-vegetarian food. So I have to lead the way. That was the only way to save and stop the splurge.
Fair enough. But when you, just to go back to your early days, when you joined the police force, even today it is, common to see women in high posts. But that time it was pretty novel. So how did you get your men colleagues to accept you? And maybe later on as their boss?
I think gradually only when they saw the way I worked, that I didn't work for myself. I'm also grooming leadership. My objective was to recognize and groom. So it's leaving leadership behind, and it's also recognition plenty. So allow recognition go where it meant to be. I would get the recognition of they being happy. So my source of joy was not an award. My source of joy was their grooming, their happiness, their sense of satisfaction, their recognition, and they being good at, happy at their work. For me, that was a sense of joy, where they felt as if we were one family. My whole approach, I think as a woman, many women do bring a family approach at work. Mine was a very family approach at work, where for me, they were part of an extended family. And their joy became my source of joy, not otherwise. My comfort is not first, your comfort is first. So when they saw that she's always recognizing us first and looking concerned about our welfare, they started to give me unstinted support. We were challenged in Puducherry at every level before the Honorable Madras High Court or the Supreme Court. And God's grace, we won it every time. That is why when I left Lieutenant Governorship from there's a total legal clarity in the functioning of the Lieutenant Governor's powers and the state or of the Assembly, because every matter got settled. But imagine, while doing all this work, we also had to fight strong legal battles because every time they were challenged. Today, there's nothing left to be challenged anymore.
You've battled opposition of all kinds, but I just want to focus on the gender opposition because there's a lot of bias of women who actually want to do well at work. You're seen as pushy, ambitious. These are all seen as negatives, while in a man they're seen as positives. But what you said just now also said that a woman, with the sense of family, we bring an extra sensitive touch to even the work life. That's the positive. But at that time, how did you deal with all the negative adjectives that they use for a woman who's just doing her job?
I was cartooned a lot. There was a lot of mockery around, but people didn't like it. That's why they lost the election. They, in fact, lost it because they were mocking at my work, whereas my work was all for people, for their